Coming up on Mountain News this morning, a murder mystery from Pulaski County continues to remain unsolved 30 years later. And some Kentuckians are having to apply for FEMA assistance again after May's storm damage.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News This Morning.
And thanks for getting your Friday. Yes, Friday started with us here on Mountain News This Morning. Jim Freeman in at 5:30. Tim Drawbridge is in as well. It's Tim and Jim this morning. Hi, Tim. What's the latest on our forecast today?
Fog is the latest. Unfortunately, it's the typical thing, as you know, Jim, this time of the year in the morning. 64 outside our door here at WYMT. And it's not only outside our door, it's a lot of us dealing with some areas of fog, locally dense, especially as you make your way back toward Williamsburg and toward Harlan with the updated reports. Temperature-wise, yeah, this is what we typically expect. We know the fire drill. Mid upper 60s, close to 70 here at the 5:30 mark. And the satellite radar composite, yeah, there are some breaks in the clouds and everything's moving from west to east generally as our boundary has slowly been sinking to our south here in the last 24 hours. Oh, that nice air, better air and sunshine not far away. And with this system just lurking to our south, we'll deal with the cloud cover issues today, which means, yes, the fog burns off to a partly sunny sky from Hazard south through the afternoon, the risk of a pop-up shower and a high of 85. The weekend forecast, we'll kind of call it a 50-50 deal. It's coming up in a few moments. Jim?
Good stuff, Tim. Thank you. Well, it's been 30 years since a southern Kentucky woman and her brother were found dead in a fence row after being reported missing several days before. Linda Gibson and Cody Lee Garrett's murders remain unsolved in Pulaski County. WYMT's Phil Pendleton spoke to relatives about the lack of justice in the case.
A 21-year-old simply walking from a Somerset store.
But she had a big heart. She had a good heart. She loved everybody.
Her 4-year-old half-brother was with her.
And little Cody, he was just so innocent, and he was pure at heart. He was a good little fella. I mean,
both were murdered after police say someone picked them up near the gas station Food Mart that's now Valero on Bourne Avenue. 4 days later, July 7th, 1994, their bodies were found in what's now the Village Green subdivision.
I know people out here knows. They still yet know, you know, they still won't talk about it because I believe that the killers are still alive.
In the 30 years since this crime happened, the Pulaski County Sheriff's Office has called in federal investigators and other help. There's been possible persons of interest named and talked about, but not enough to make an arrest. Clayton Gibson says their family has endured 30 years of heartache. He says he believes there's evidence against those responsible, just not enough to make an arrest.
You can't do something out here without somebody knowing it. Somebody knows it, you know, and somebody's seen them, and their family members know it, but yet they won't, you know, they won't tell on them or whatever.
Gibson says he believes his sister knew things about certain people in Somerset. They killed her and her half-brother over it. In Pulaski County, Phil Pendleton, WYMT Mountain News.
According to the Pulaski County Sheriff's Office website, people who have information that could lead to an arrest could be eligible for a cash reward. We also have reached out to the Sheriff's Office for comment on the current investigation, and as of yesterday, they have not responded. In Powell County, a man is facing charges after he was reportedly involved in an altercation and fired several shots in the air. Deputies with the Sheriff's Office were dispatched to a home on Smallwood Road Wednesday about receiving a complaint about shots being fired. After deputies arrived on the scene, they discovered 46-year-old Matthew Campbell left the home. Deputies removed several rifles from the home. Campbell was later arrested after police came back to that home. A Laurel County man is behind bars after deputies say he tried to resist arrest. Yesterday, deputies with the Sheriff's Office were dispatched to Fairston Road after officials with the 911 center received a suspicious persons complaint. When police arrived, they found Ronald Reams. During an investigation, Reams reportedly tried to resist arrest and even threw an object later identified as suspected meth. Reams was taken to the Laurel County Correctional Center. Even though it's been 2 years since deadly floods devastated parts of the region, for many families, the scars of the storm are just as fresh. For more than 40 people lost their lives in the flooding. Farmer Baker survived the flood, but his wife Vanessa went missing and the water still has not been found. Baker says he's still searching as he prepares to move into a rebuilt home in Breathitt County. 15 counties in Kentucky are included in a federal disaster declaration following the Memorial Day weekend storms. They include Whitley, Knox, and Clay counties, among others, in western Kentucky. It's the second time in 2 months Whitley County has been approved for assistance. However, people dealing with damage will have to apply again.
A lot of residents had not fully repaired and recouped from the April storm, and then we had a storm in May. So we had the same path that the storm took, and then it was more extensive and a longer path that caused a whole lot more damage to residents.
You can register for assistance at disasterassistance.gov. During the annual Appalachian Writers Workshop, a table was set up for folks to register to become bone marrow donors. This after one attendee's life was forever changed when she was diagnosed with leukemia in 2018. Tia Jensen comes to the Writers Workshop in Hindman almost every year. When she was diagnosed with leukemia, a marrow donor helped to save her life by giving some of his blood and marrow. Jensen says it's a gift and she's grateful for every moment. She says registering to become a donor could allow you to be a hero to save a life.
It was because somebody was generous enough to say yes. And it's really important to get the information across too about the process of donation. Now it's like an extended blood donation. You know, it's they put a needle in your arm and they take the blood out, spin the marrow out, and they put the blood back in the other arm, and you're on your way.
According to the National Marrow Donor Program, only 30% of people who need a donor find a match within their families. That leaves 70% of people who have to rely on the donor registry. Jensen says that less than 1% of people who try to become donors are accepted. We continue to keep an eye on this year's presidential race, and one of the big choices Vice President Kamala Harris will have to make if and when she accepts the Democratic nomination will be choosing a running mate. Governor Andy Beshear faced reporters during his Team Kentucky briefing yesterday. Governor Beshear was asked why he is the person to make the case to Americans about Vice President Kamala Harris's ability to lead the country. Here was his answer.
We've had an ability here in Kentucky to cross the aisle. It's about talking to people and not talking at them. It's about being focused on the things they care about the most. That's not the issue of the day in D.C.
Governor Beshear says the vice president did call him hours after President Biden announced he was dropping out of the race, and he says he's not spoken with her since. Also in his Team Kentucky briefing, Governor Beshear announced more than $1 million will go towards supporting projects in a couple of our counties. The Rock County Castle Fiscal Court will acquire land adjoining the Sparks property and complete site preparation. The Rowan County Fiscal Court will acquire 80 acres identified by an independent site selection consultant as having the potential for future investment and industrial development. Governor Andy Beshear will make several stops in eastern Kentucky today, just ahead of this weekend's second anniversary of the July 2022 flood. WYMT asked him earlier this week if he could give us a preview of what he'll be doing. And one thing he mentioned was giving an update on higher ground communities.
We're going to be giving updates on where we are on all of them. Certainly Skyview and Hazard, that road is getting up there. We're working on the water and the sewer right now. Chestnut Ridge and Knott County, we're going to have homes coming up. The utility work is getting into the property right now. The Wayland community in Floyd County, we're going to have almost all those homes filled by the end of the year, which is exciting.
The governor will be in Floyd, Knott, Perry, and Breathitt counties later today. You can hear more from Governor Beshear about the flood anniversary. And WYMT's other guest is Housing Development Alliance Executive Director Scott McReynolds on Issues and Answers Monday night at 7 on WYMT. A grant worth $1.5 million has been awarded to Wise County, Virginia. The Appalachian Regional Commission awarded the grant, which will go towards a new sewer system for the Banner community. In a statement, Congressman Morgan Griffith says the grant will help deliver modernized sewer systems to the Banner community and protect water quality for those living in that area. When we return, actors in the video game industry are preparing to strike as the union bargains for more rights.
And some areas of fog to wake up to this morning that are locally dense. The other thing we're taking note of, the drier air is not too far away. A more comfortable feel to the air. Does that get all the way into southern Kentucky? We'll let you know. First Alert 7-day forecast coming up right after this.